to After Further Review.
Here we go, episode 26. After further review, we're here to recap a jam-packed weekend of action from the UFC to the MLB trade deadline. Also, we got a little touch on Women's World Soccer coming up, but how are you guys doing?
Good. Exciting week in sports and a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Super pumped to get right into it.
Yeah. So, and I think to start, we're going to do something a little different. I think we've been kind of doing some of this on our own, but we're going to do it together, not doing this at all before. And we're going to do the Immaculate Grid. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's on Baseball Reference. They have baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. We're going to do the baseball one today. But each day you get a different grid and has it's pretty cool. So we're just going to get right into it today and see how many we can get. We might not get all 9, but we're going to do it all together for the first time. You guys ready?
Oh, yeah. I'm so pumped about this. I'm pumped to have some help.
First up, we'll just go in order here. So we got a player that was on the Pirates and the Royals. Anyone? Any guesses? Who we thinking? My first instinct is to say Oliver Perez, but I don't know if he was on the Royals.
That's a great guess.
Don't know if he was on the Royals though.
I feel like I'm sweating a Royals player right now. Nothing's coming up.
Is there any that are like sticking out super obvious?
So what do we got? We got
Pedro Alvarez. Was he on the Royals? I don't think he was.
I don't know my Royals teams.
The Oriole and Marlin, Jesus Aguilar. He was on both of them last year.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I like that. Let's lock that one in.
The first base DH.
Locking it in.
All right, 1 for 1, 8
Oh, yeah.
percentile, Chase. I like that pick.
Got a low percentage. That's what we're looking for. Just kidding.
Well, 100 RBI season to me for the Rangers is pretty obvious. Josh Hamilton.
Oh, yeah. That's a good guess.
Could always go with like Adrian Beltre too, probably.
Nelson Cruz.
Nelson Cruz.
Are you guys trying to go rare, or are you just trying to?
No, you just get more points if you go right.
Yeah, no, I'm
Okay,
not
so
trying to
we're just
go.
going for the hits.
I don't think I can flex that hard on this round.
Well, Orioles 100 RBI season. Did Chris Davis that year have?
Oh, yeah. Easily. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he had 300 RBI seasons.
Dude, the right column is just cake for me. I don't.
Chris Davis. See, for Pirates, I'm inclined to say like McCutcheon, but I'm not sure he ever did actually have 100 ribbies.
Did
Yeah,
Clemente?
I don't know. Clemente, Stargell probably.
Stargell probably.
Oh,
Definitely did.
Okay, go for that. Go.
Thinking of anyone else. I'm gonna go with Stargell. I feel like
I like that.
that's a safe pick.
Nice.
I'm
We got a
thinking
tough row with the Royals going
Willie
down.
Calhoun, but he didn't play.
Oh, yeah.
The Royals. is
For some reason, I feel like there's a reliever and I can't put my finger on it.
Aroldis Chapman this year.
Oh, yeah. Let's
Oh,
go.
yeah, has he played? for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Rangers?
Yeah, he's playing right now.
Oh,
Fuck
let's
yeah.
go. Oh my gosh, that was almost
That
a
was your
big
guy.
miss.
That was your
literally
guy.
my guy with.
All right, so we
Woo.
got 4 left. Doing pretty good.
All right.
So we need a Pirates and Royals and an Orioles and Royals.
Oh, I got the Oriole and Royal. Jeremy
Oh.
Guthrie, the pitcher.
Oh, Chase, are you Googling stuff over there? How did you come up with
No.
that name?
I just remember
I
him
love that. I love
because
that.
I'm pretty sure he wore number 11.
That was a clean snag, Chase.
I love
That
that.
was a good
All right.
one.
Is
Whew.
Marlins did dang, no, I don't know. See, I can think of guys and I don't know if they play for both. Like Martin Prada. Was he on the Pirates at all?
Oh,
Oh, that's a great.
I
Oh,
like
that's a
that.
great name. Oh,
that's a
man.
good name.
If we ever do a not all-time team, he's on there as my third baseman.
Our
Oh.
second non-all-time team. It's like,
The Rangers and Marlins too. I feel like there's a reliever in there somewhere that was both. Didn't they make a trade like 5 or 6 years ago? Was
Who,
that
the-
not them? The Rangers and the Marlins.
There was the Tigers and the Marlins. There was a Jacob Turner.
a lot of guys. Like I'm just thinking, like Cole Hamels came through, Prince Fielder came through. Like
Yeah, any of those?
at this point, our fans are just screaming at us. Our listeners are just screaming.
Did Pedro Alvarez play for
That's-
the?
That's what I mentioned.
Oh, go
Oh
for
shit! Duh. Yeah.
it. Go for it.
I don't know. That's the one.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
He could have played for either.
He
of
could have
those.
he could have been on the Marlins for like half of one season, one year.
Should we go for it?
Yeah, I say go
All right,
for
I
it.
feel like it's worth a send. We went back to it.
Oh no.
Oh,
No, wasn't it?
All right, we're thinking of somebody though.
but that name
Uh,
just made me think of Jeff Samardzija. Did he play?
Jess Samardzija might have played for
The
one of those or the Royals. He definitely pitched for the Pirates. Do you know?
He might have pitched for the Royals.
Do you want to try to lock in the Royals Pirates? on the
Yeah,
other
let me
side?
see. Samar.
Just go for it.
Nope. It's
Sure.
tough because I'm thinking about the Royals during their World Series run. So I'm trying to think of who was on those teams and if anyone like trickled out or if anyone went from a team to them. But I don't remember them making any big deal.
Oh my gosh, we missed an obvious one. I just looked it up.
All right, let's do Pirates Marlins. I'm just gonna type in Mark Melanson and see what happens.
All right, I like
Okay.
it.
Nope, didn't get it.
Starling Marte. Pudge. That was
Fuck.
the really obvious one. Pudge.
Oh, Pudge.
Then Chris Davis, Josh Hamilton, Clemente were the three obvious ones on the right.
Carlos
Fuck.
Santana, I feel like
Starling Marte's been around so many teams though now.
Yeah. Totally forgot about Carlos Santana. Pudge was an obvious one. That was a brick.
I'll just start using Starling Marte like I use Ryan Fitzpatrick in the NFL.
Wait, Carlos Santana was the Pirates and Royals?
That's the highest rated one for the Pirates Royals.
I don't remember that at all.
The other options, Jakeem Soria,
Oh,
Jason
fuck.
Kendall.
There's the reliever I was talking about, Joaquin
Yeah.
Soria. Fucker.
Thing is, it's crazy. You type it in, there's 110 players total who have played for both these teams, but some of these names never. Like Trevor Cahill, but he only played one game for the Royals.
Oh, what?
Just crazy stuff like that. Octavia Dotel is on here.
Oh, you know
Those-
what? He
those
should be the
relievers.
guess if we can't come up with something. It should be him.
Naftali Feliz. There's all those relievers.
Wait, Feliz was a Marlin and a
No,
Ranger?
Royal and Pirate.
Oh. Still though, what the hell?
Yeah. But if you guys stayed with us that long, we appreciate it. Just a fun one. And we'll keep, hey, that wasn't bad. We got 6 out of 9. So we'll take it.
Let us know if you guys beat us. There's 3 of us doing this. Let us know if anybody got
Yeah.
more than 6 out of 9.
Yeah, and we'll post them on our Instagram every day. Just when one of us does them, and just see if anyone else did something with them. But yeah, speaking of MLB, we had a big day yesterday was a big day. Last couple of days was big, and trade deadline, lots of moves. Not necessarily the craziest trade deadline we've had recently, but what are your thoughts? What are you guys? I know I have a lot to talk about, but you guys have any thoughts about the Phillies or any other moves? No Ohtani, so they're going for it. It's gonna bite them in the ass, but they're going for it.
Ben, I'm
Yeah.
so pumped they're going for it, first of all. And Chase, I'll let you if you want to touch on the Phillies first.
Okay. I was definitely a little underwhelmed, I would say, considering Dave Dombrowski seems to just wait until the end of the deadline to make all of his deals. He did it last year and he did it again this year. And I guess you could say moving forward, we're better than we were before the deadline. But Michael Lorenzen for 1 year and Rodolfo Castro are 2 names that particularly get my energy up for the season. I mean, they're having respective seasons, but nothing that I would say compared to the people who I thought they had a chance of getting are the people that they got. So that's my initial reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I like the move. I like the Michael Lorenzen move a lot. I don't know too much about Castro actually, but I hated Bailey Falter.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest fear on trade days, especially when you're going for the win. I don't want them to drop someone that I feel like I like and or can contribute to us winning. Bailey Falter is a loser, just that plain and simple. And so I'm okay with that move. And I've been saying all year, we need another starter. We need another starter. Christopher Sanchez is not as bad as I make him out to seem, but Lorenzen being in there, I mean, even Ben and I were talking yesterday, if they make the playoffs, well, one, he'll help make the run, but if they can squeak into the playoffs, he can be easily a long reliever. So, Ranger pitches game 3 or game 4, only goes 2 innings. Lorenzen would be perfect guy to come in to try to eat up some of those. Overall, I'm okay with not a lot of action. I know they could have done more, but they didn't do anything bad. And they're still winning games, and they were cold right out of the All-Star break, getting hotter again. This isn't going to fluster up their rhythm or, cohesiveness. Rob Thompson doesn't have to make any crazy decisions. So it should be pretty simple for him. But Yeah, not nearly as many moves as the Mets made. But real quick, before you get to that, Ben, I am happy Ohtani staying. It will most likely bite him in the ass, but this proves that these borderline teams, especially teams like the Angels, who don't have as much money to shell out, usually just sell, and now I'll really be rooting for him.
Yeah, I mean the Angels, they made some weird moves though too. Yeah, they went for it, but like to bridge into the Mets, they traded for Dominic Leone, the Mets a reliever who hasn't done much at all. I mean, he's got like a 4.30 ERA. He's a journeyman reliever. He started the year in AAA. They traded their number 9 overall prospect, for him. Now, I don't think the Angels have a weak farm system. I don't think he's anything good, but they just seem desperate. I don't know. I think they're making a big mistake just not getting anything in return for Ohtani.
Yeah, I think it was a sketchy move, especially because of how hard they spent to get people. Like, it wasn't even they bolstered their roster. They just went out and sold off, I guess, 3 of their top 10 prospects. Now, when Ohtani walks, they're not going to be able to replace any of that, what they gave away, and plus whatever crater he's going to leave on their offensive and pitching staff.
Yeah, and they have a really weak farm system. So they're a team that could have, benefited from bolstering that. But so let's talk about the Mets for a second. Trying to gather my thoughts and trying to put it all into a something that makes sense, because there's a lot that happened, a lot going on, and I have a lot that went through my head with it. First of all, I overall think they made the right decisions. I think we talked about it a little last week. I wanted them to sell. They went for it this year. They signed the guys they thought they had to sign, and it's not always easy for teams to just kind of punt and say they got it wrong. And to do a quick rebuild, to do that, you have to kind of make this move. So that's what they did. And I think overall it was what they had to do. Max Scherzer needs to chill is another thing I want to say. First of all, I don't think Mets fans give him enough credit. Last year during the regular season, he had probably a top 10, top 15 regular season for the Mets all time. Not even sugarcoating it, because he was that good during the regular season. But this year, the playoffs, he really underperformed in big spots, and that's what he was signed there to do. And whether it's a pitch clock, like we talked about in the beginning of the season with some of these vets that made him struggle, I don't know what it was, but he was upset that the Mets decided to sell. And he was a big part of the reason the Mets decided to sell. He did not perform the way he's paid to perform. I mean, he still has an over 4 ERA going to the Rangers. So I think the Mets, I think they did what they should do. I mean, they got a bunch of good prospects back. They have 5. They got, I think, 4 more top 100 prospects back. They didn't really do what they need to do with pitching. They got really no pitching, which is really what they need. But their lineup probably in 2 years is going to be really good. And that's what it seems like. It seems like they're gearing up to contend in 2025, which is kind of unfortunate when a team is probably not in it to contend next year, but we'll see what happens. So that's my thoughts. I think I'm happy with the moves. I think they did really well with some trades. I think they could have gotten more with a few others. Like Robertson, I was really happy after I read more about Vargas. I think they did really well for a rental reliever who's 37. I mean, Verlander is 40, Scherzer's 39 or 40, and then got top prospects for him. Now they're paying a ton of money, so they're almost paying for prospects essentially. The only thing I'd like to see them do at this point, like call up like Ronnie Mauricio, who's tearing up AAA, who's a top prospect. Like stop throwing Danny Mendick out there. I mean, their lineup tonight, they have a guy, I don't even remember his name, a guy who hasn't played in the major since 2022. He has a career like minus 0.09 WAR, and he's starting at second base. They lost last night. I don't know if anyone saw. They lost last night on a balk that the pitcher never even threw a pitch. He came into the game, never threw a pitch, balked, and they lost. So just capped off the trade deadline and kind of the Mets season. But players should not be shocked that they're doing what they're doing. I mean, the crazy thing about all of it is in July, they had the best record in the NL.
The Mets did?
The Mets had a 14-9 record, which is the best NL record.
Oh my god!
But they were so bad in June. They didn't give the team a chance to contend. And there's so many players have been underperforming. I mean, yeah, Pete Alonso's got 31 home runs, but he's hitting 215. Like everyone across the board has been underperforming. So,
well, Scherzer's probably just pissed because now he's gonna be forever on Mets fans' shit list. He's only gonna be remembered for playoff choking and then being part of the reason why they went from a 100-win season to having to almost rebuild the franchise.
They traded away Robertson, and then the media after the game, this is before Scherzer got traded, he was like, I got to speak to management about this. Like, he was super pissed. Like, they traded Robertson. It's like, dude, you're like we're 6 games under 500, like right before the trade deadline he's a 37-year-old closer on a 1-year deal. Like, obviously they're going to try to get something for him. Like, we can still sign him next year, but I mean, that's insane to think we're just going to keep him to try to let them contend. Like, they've had so many months. At some point, they didn't perform. That's it.
Baseball is weird. They've added 2 additional wildcard teams within the last 15 years, one being within the last 2 years. So you have 3 wildcard teams now, but there's only 3 divisions. So only 6 of the 15 teams are making the playoffs in the MLB. You have to be well over 500 to be a solid playoff team, like to make a run. And them being under 500, like you said, I mean, best record in baseball in NL, I wouldn't have guessed would have been as low as 14-9.
Yeah.
And obviously there was the All-Star break too, but I don't know. Max Scherzer is kind of a baby.
I mean, I truly believe if Diaz was healthy this year, they would have won at least 5 more games. I think that's a fair number because they had a lot of games they blew late this year in general. And I truly believe if Diaz was back there with Robertson doing what he's doing in the 8th inning, like, they would have won 5 more games, been more closer to 500 and not be in this position.
No, I agree with that too, because it wrecked Diaz for you and it killed Trey Turner for us. So I love the World Baseball Classic, but it really screwed over 2 people.
I mean, there was some other cool trades that occurred. You know, a couple, the White Sox made some moves just like we thought. Giolito went to the Angels, getting absolutely shelled today. 3 innings, 9 runs. So good for them, of course, making those trades. Killed my fantasy team while they were at it too. But I mean, the biggest thing, I think the Mets were the biggest moves. I mean, it wasn't as crazy of a deadline as I thought it could be.
Well, not as many teams sold. Like,
the Cubs you thought might be sellers, and then all of a sudden went on like a 7-game win streak, and then they became like kind of buyers, kind of not sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I say it as it's still really hard to make the playoffs as an MLB team. I mean, like I just said how a lot of MLB teams.
Breaking news, just so everyone doesn't know, Ryan just got a house.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations on air. Ryan got a house.
Just got the text
Congrats.
now. The sellers are accepting our offer. They didn't even counter. So we got what we offered, and just super pumped to get right after it. And you already know Painting by Chase about to be the first hire to help us make this house perfect.
Appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Can't wait to get it.
Live never happened before on AFR. So yeah, congratulations.
If you listen to this podcast and you shoot me a text saying, yo, I heard you got a house via the podcast, you will automatically be invited to my housewarming party.
Yeah, and I'll
the
give
golden
away
ticket.
I'll give you away an autographed baseball card if you do that too.
Ben, for my housewarming gift, can you just give me an Ed Delahanty card?
Like an authentic one?
No.
I looked up his cards.
I want like one like that
There's
was
one
made when
from-
he played.
Oh, okay. There's one they did make ones in 1970 that are Ed Delahanty. So they're like still kind of old, but
that's okay.
They're not when he played.
As long as it's not like a modern
No,
day.
so you think about it, 1970, I mean, it's still pretty old.
Yeah,
But
no, that's okay. That's old enough.
his actual cards, like on average, a pretty bad condition one is like $2 to $3 grand.
Do you think they're like painted?
No,
They
they made cards then. They're
did?
just, yeah. I looked it up. An
Okay.
authentic one's sketch.
No,
Not
I'm
gonna
just
find
kidding.
it in the dollar bin.
The swing back around, like I was saying, how MLB teams, a lot of them, like it's so super hard to make the playoffs. Still, only 6 of the 15 teams in each league. But at the same time, this adding the 6th wildcard team gives so many teams hope now. So many teams, like we talk about the 2010 Mariners, teams like the Angels this year. I mean, the NL Central's wide open. The Reds have had winning streaks. The Cubs have had winning streaks. The Brewers are there. The Cardinals made it last year. So a lot of teams that are hanging around just because of that extra wild card, even though the odds are still so small, they want to make the run. They want to not sell. They want to bring in fans. They want to try to make money and continue to win games because, as you saw the Phillies last year, anything can happen if you make the playoffs. Just got to get into one of those spots. But yeah, overall, not the craziest trade deadline. Still better than the NFL and the NBA, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I love the activity that does happen. And it was a little more intense, like we were saying. It was less active, you could say. But I think it just means that there's more competitive teams too, which is nice to see. That it's not just blowaways and everyone has a chance to win it. So I would say the team that probably made the most head-scratching moves was the Marlins, though. It seemed like they just kept swapping out people.
Yeah, I agree. They didn't do, for a team that has surpassed expectations like they have, you would think they would maybe go for a little more than they did.
Not that I'm rooting for the Marlins in any way, shape, or form, but it seems like when you make trades, though, you try to upgrade positions. It seemed like they were just swapping out positions almost.
Yeah. So I'll ask you, Ryan,
Wait, real quick before you dive in, was there any clear winners, trade deadline winners?
I mean,
That's pretty quiet.
I think the Mets were a winner, honestly.
Yeah.
They got some
Hit the
top
bell.
talent.
Ding.
They got some top
METS.
talent.
Mets.
I don't know. I think the Angels were clear losers.
That's fair. I had to ride it high,
Yeah.
but I know I'm in the wrong.
I just know it's not even that they went for it. It's the moves that they made when they went for it. I didn't really like any of them. Like it seemed like they either gave up too much for someone that wasn't worth it, or like, I don't know. It didn't seem like they made any smart moves.
And also, too, we should bring up the Diamondbacks. They made a couple buyer moves to keep their team contending in their division.
True,
They
yeah.
upgraded their closer spot. They got Tommy Pham.
Oh yeah, they traded Tommy Pham from the Mets. They gave up a prospect.
You said the Angels went around in circles. I feel like the Padres kind of did too. They dealt Blake Snell, right? But
No.
did they not dealt?
No, they almost bought a little more.
They did, yeah, because they got Rich Hill.
Yeah, they got Rich Hill.
Yeah.
They basically bought. I mean, they're at 54 and 55 now. They
were 4th place in their division under 500, and
they're in a similar spot, honestly, as the Mets, and they went for it.
They got Garrett Cooper from the Marlins too.
But the
first baseman.
Oh, that's true. But this
There's
is kind of
50 games left.
This is kind of reminiscent. The Padres. It was 2017, and that's when they traded like Hosmer, Myers, and they were struggling. They were in a similar boat, and they went for a quick rebuild. They got some really good prospects in return, and that's what helped them get back to contention so quickly, which is why I like what the Mets did. So it's tough. If you go the other way, it could make the future a lot more dim. Quickly here, as you said 50 games away from playoffs, which is crazy. Ryan, your top 4 going into this season, you had the Orioles and Astros in the AL. How are you feeling about that one?
Ding, ding. I'm feeling great, Ben.
That sounds awesome. Then the Phillies and Dodgers.
Feeling great, Ben.
Okay.
I'm feeling great.
Chase, you had the Guardians and Astros. How are you feeling about that one?
Astros, Guardians, not so much.
Guardians 3 games under 500, Chase, but only 2.5 out of the division.
Weak division. They could.
I mean, they sold off Josh Bell, Aaron Seville, and they got in Noah Syndergaard. So I don't really know what their game plan is. Not really sure what that moves mean.
They got a good prospect for Seville. I think they're
did.
not in a bad spot.
Yeah, actually, I brought up the 1-for-1 trade thing, and there was a lot of that.
There was.
Trade deadline.
That's
true.
Surprisingly,
and the Mets did it.
They did do it, and I didn't know I mean, there was what Tommy Pham was one of them.
Mhm,
Yeah, Scherzer was 1-for-1, right?
mhm.
Scherzer and Tommy Pham. So yeah.
And Tommy Pham. Yeah.
But yeah, the Scherzer, I mean, they got a good prospect, but yeah, it's pretty funny you brought that up and all that happened.
Yeah, because I'm just not sold on the trade package in baseball. I feel like you get too much junk in return.
Yeah.
I'd rather one quality guy over three potentials. And yeah, maybe you hit on two of those three, but how often does that legitimately happen?
Yeah. I agree. And on the NL side, Chase, you had the Phillies Mets. How you feeling about that one?
Okay, the Mets not so much. I really bought into the hype.
It's okay.
This is
So
gonna be a arms race between the Phillies and the Mets. If we go back, a handful of episodes, we were talking about it like it was a nuclear war.
yeah.
So far, it's been grenades and handguns.
Yeah, that's did not work out like we thought it did. Certainly I had more hope. So for me, I had the Astros Rangers. So feeling decent about
Solid.
that one. And then I had the Mets Dodgers. So Dodgers I'm still okay with. Mets not so much.
Dang. Yeah, and these are the teams playing in the championship series. So obviously Ben has still two teams from the NL West or the AL West, and I don't mind that pick at all, considering how the AL Central's been a garbage can.
Yeah.
But got to get through that Mo's, baby.
Yeah, but just wanted to see where we were at on our brackets here as we're past the trade deadline.
No, it's
Also,
been a. Go ahead, Chase.
I was gonna bring up Eduardo Rodriguez declining the Dodgers trade because I don't know. I feel like this happens every year where like Arenado said he would definitely go to the Dodgers if he was traded there. But how many people are just biased to go there? And I was just happy to see one person and be like, no, that's okay.
Yeah, and you never hear about what like personally like even guys like Mark Canna, like they talk about the other side that people don't see. Like you're taking your family, you're moving, you're on a flight like the next day to a different city.
Yeah, I'll plug our Twitter right here, but I saw a few stories of that players were tweeting out. I think I retweeted one. Forget who it was off the top of my head, but just talked about their experience of learning about being dealt mid-game and what that was, how confusing that was, and just being handed a phone and realizing you're getting on a bus going somewhere else other than where everyone else is going and what that feeling's like. So check it out.
Yeah, check out our Twitter, AFR Show Pod, right?
Yeah.
At AFR Show Pod. All right, now we're going to a brand new segment on After Further Review right here. The Wild, Wacky, Weird West Takes. You already know, midway through the show, let's break it up a little bit. Everyone's going to have some weird, odd thing they talk about. Doesn't have to be super crazy, but just something different. And I'll lead us off. Since we were talking baseball, I think this is a nice bridge here to go with. Less than a month ago, the Mexican Baseball League combined with the World Baseball and Softball Confederation, and they created, which will happen this year, the first ever Baseball Champions League. And I'm bringing this up specifically because, Chase, I believe you've touched on something like this. We love the World Baseball Classic. We like to see these international teams and players you don't always get a chance to watch on a big stage play because there's a lot of hidden talent out there. Well, this is our chance, just a small sample size, but our chance to see it. Obviously, in the European soccer leagues, the Champions League thrives. I mean, aside from your league, that's almost better, if not better, winning the Champions League too, on top of like your Premier League or your Bundesliga, those types of leagues. This one doesn't have all the big hitters in it, the baseball league, but it is actually the first time in the history of baseball, professional and world level competition for clubs will happen between one another. So this is history in the making. Nothing crazy, but it's pretty cool. And it's going to go on from September 28th to October 1st in Mexico. Only 4 days, but ESPN will be covering it. And the four leagues participating are the 2022 champions of the Mexican Baseball League, the American Association of Professional Baseball, which is an independent league in America, a small 12-league team, the Cuban Baseball League champion, and the Colombian Baseball League champion. So some smaller countries, no big, obviously the MLB, none of the minor league teams. Japan's not in it, Korea's not in it. But I don't know, guys. This seems pretty cool, and the Champions League works so well in soccer. I feel like it could work in baseball.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat to, we get to see these players on a bigger stage that we normally don't really hear about or get to see. It'd be cool to see those guys highlighted and guys in, those countries as well there's some great ball players out there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a chance for scouts like the World Baseball Classic. And I mean, Mexico, Cuba, Colombia, even throughout the America, this AA team plays in they have a couple teams in Canada. It's only 12-team league, but a couple of teams in Canada, and then the rest are in the US. But that's prime baseball players. Like, you can find some nice raw talent throughout these leagues that we never get a chance to see, and it's good branding for them too. But I'm rooting for it. World Baseball Classic is so cool, and this tournament they're doing in 4 days. I mean, the MLB season doesn't end till November, so they'd have to figure out a way to do it later or something like that. But I mean, it's just going to be a simple round robin. You play every team once, and the top 2 teams play in the finals on day 4. And I'm super pumped about it. September 28th through October 1st. So we'll have to keep an eye on that when it gets closer.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Like, I don't know, we've just been waiting a long time, and especially coming out of the pandemic, I feel like still there's not enough sports happening, even though we're basically back on a full-time schedule. The more I can get, and the more tournaments, and the more people I can get it out there, I'm definitely behind.
So real quick, boom or bust, Baseball Champions League.
I'm gonna say bust, but I think this might be a thing where it takes like 2 or 3 iterations until it clicks.
I'm gonna also say bust as much as I want to say boom. I just don't. I'm not sure. I have to see it happen. I think there's a lot of potential, but it's always going to be tough no matter what it is for the league.
Well, World Baseball Classic's only every 4 years, and the scheduling is tough, and that would be something that this tournament would have to deal with. They would almost have to do it on like the opposite end of 2 years of like the World Baseball Classic or something, same time frame to fit everyone's needs. But I don't know. I mean, there's not like the Mexican Baseball League, like these aren't just random, all like, single A teams playing each other. These are legit league champions in other countries.
My question is there going to be MLB players on them? Like, are teams going to not want these low-level minor league guys to play in these games? Like, is that hindrance? Like, will that be a hindrance or not?
I mean, there won't be any MLB players this year, so it'll. Yeah, but I see what you're saying.
But even like the Mexican, like the Dominican leagues that are affiliated with the farm system, I'm sure there's guys that would play on those teams.
That's true.
But I don't know if they'd be allowed to.
Yeah.
And if they are, then maybe that becomes a showcase and it's a cool thing. But
like Shohei Ohtani and the Angels, I'm rooting for it. But yeah,
it's a cool idea. It's awesome.
But that's my weird, wacky, wild, wild west take. Who's next?
No, but Ryan's, I mean, that was awesome just to hear about another potential league and hoping it succeeds, because I'm always down for more baseball. So, but here we go. So this is just a little NFL weird stat type thing, and I thought it'd just be interesting. So in NFL history, after the age of 40, who has the most receiving yards?
In the NFL after the age of 40?
Who has the most receiving yards in the NFL after the age of 40?
I got 2 guesses. So Chase, I'll let you go first, because if you guess one, I'll guess the other.
I'm doing a top 4.
You're doing a top 4?
I'm going to give you guys the answers after number 1.
Chase, you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jerry Rice.
Yes. Okay.
Is he number 1?
Solid pick.
Number 2.
No. I got another guess.
You're not going to guess the rest.
I'm not going to guess any of them?
No.
Can I guess one?
Sure.
Terrell Owens.
No.
Chase, do you have any picks?
No. To be honest, I can't think of any over
there's
age
0%
40.
chance. Okay. Number 2 is Tom Brady with 6 yards.
Number 2 is Tom Brady with 6 yards.
Number 3 is everybody else with 0 yards.
What?
And then number 4 is Brett Favre with -2 yards.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Well, I'm glad I didn't take a guess, because I would have been salty that it legitimately wasn't anyone else.
So I just thought that was really funny. Then I had to let you guys in on that one.
First off, I'm pumped I got number 1. Second off, I like the third place is everybody else.
And then you just have Brett Favre, who apparently caught a pass for -2 yards when he was over 40.
I wonder if we can find the highlight of that to show our listeners.
If we find that highlight, I'm posting it.
I hope so. That's amazing.
All right,
That was
Chase,
awesome.
leaves you. Let's get it. What do you got?
All right, our last story is somebody that we probably should have brought up sooner, but we're bringing it up now because I just saw him back making headlines again. The person I'm talking about is Blake Martinez. He was a former linebacker in the NFL, and he played for the Giants most recently, I believe. But anyways, he retired from football because of the injuries and the concussions they were adding up, and he decided to go into something else investment-wise, and he decided that Pokemon cards, trading them specifically would be a good way to make money and also not hurt himself in the process, like meaning physically and mentally from, all the abuse of playing football. So during his time at the NFL, he's made about $30 million, and he's been trading cards for a little over 2 years, and he's made 11.5 million in that time. So he's almost halfway to what he made in the NFL just in a shorter amount of time, and literally just selling Pokemon cards.
I would just like to say, not to shit on him at all, but he issued this big apology at the National this past weekend because he was caught kind of scamming people with breaks.
Oh, I didn't know that, but so the story might be tainted.
Well, it was a little sus. He's part of what he's doing is it's breaking. So like a Pokemon breaking like such. But there was a video of him like swapping out like a card or something, like almost like keeping like the good one and like trying to swap out a bad one type thing. But these are like packs that people paid for. So it was a little sus, but that's what he's been, one of the things he's been doing. I know.
That's a little shiesty, I'm not gonna lie.
That's insane though. Pokemon cards they're definitely a post-COVID. The whole industry's been in post-COVID boom, but Pokemon cards especially were nothing pre-COVID. And the fact that he's just running with that and made it 11.5 mil casually, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's pretty insane the amount of money you can pull in off of the trading card industry and just doing, certain parts of it.
Not to go too much deeper, but if you want to, there's a guy called Rattle Pokemon. He's on YouTube and he talks about like Pokemon, like bad things that happen basically. And he has a video, like a 2-part video series on like Martinez, like uncovering like bad things he's doing. It's like kind of negative, but it's
all right, well, I'm watching it. We're never bringing up Blake Martinez again.
Yeah, but
Ben, you just destroyed him.
I just know because
I had no idea. I literally just saw the headlines.
I just follow all these things for sports cards, like on Twitter, and he's come up a lot actually recently. Just because,
maybe that's why he popped up then. Like I just saw it as like,
well, because
he was making money.
Yeah, because the National just happened, and he issued an apology at the National and was there. Like it made some headlines too. One of the other things that made headlines is of like trading cards is Magic the Gathering. If you're familiar with that, there was this card there's this set that they produced with Lord of the Rings, and they had this card that was a 1 of 1, and they'd never done that before. Basically, the guy who sold it to Post Malone, and it's worth and they sold it for $2.6 million.
Dang.
I would retire.
There were companies that were offering 2 million, but Post Malone paid 2.6. So now he's the owner of that card.
What a legend. Post Malone just is higher on my list now of I love the guy. Yeah. And now he's higher because he earns a $2.6 million Magic Lord of the Rings card.
But no, Chase, I wasn't trying to shit on our pick. It's always cool.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I love that when like other players get into like cars and stuff. Like if you ever, who's the running back on the Packers?
AJ Dillon.
Yeah, AJ Dillon. He like collects his own cards and stuff, and he's like big with sports cards. Like there's guys like that, and I think that's really cool. So anytime a pro athlete actually gets into that stuff's neat.
Yeah, it's like a peek behind the curtain of like somebody who's actually in the industry doing it.
I agree. And as we're winding down the show in general, I think we just got to quickly touch on the UFC fights that just happened. I mean, we didn't really talk about it last week, but this was a fantastic card. The main event was just stacked top to bottom.
Yeah, it was a really good card. I actually got to see it live for the first time in a little bit, where sitting it through. Usually it's hard to stay up that late sometimes and you pass out, but I got to see it all and it was spectacular. They did a really good job with this card and everyone who was on it delivered. Starting with Tony Ferguson, I'll start there with him because it was the fight that, I still always have high hopes for, but he just doesn't have that gear anymore. And you kind of already knew that. And to go out the way he did with a submission of Bobby Green. Bobby Green's first in the UFC since his debut, which was over 10 years ago, I think, at this point. Kind of shows you where Tony Ferguson is in his career and still trying to keep going.
I think he's done, but also he's definitely one of those fighters that he's going to be fighting much longer than he should be. I mean, he's just that guy. He's crazy.
Yeah, he goes out on a shield for sure, and it's almost in a bad way at this point. Like some guys do, and then they know when it's time to go out, but he just keeps going. Yeah, and it's gonna be one of those things where the UFC moves on from them, but they keep going, and it's hard because I was actually really surprised that the crowd there was really behind Tony Ferguson. And I feel like a lot of people are giving him his props for what he did, and I mean he had a 12-fight unbeaten streak in that division, same as Khabib, and the fight fell through, and who really knows, but we talked about it, but it was just an unprecedented run. And even after that, he still put together some good performances, but it was a tough one to watch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even recently, I think it was a Chandler fight where he was winning that fight.
Yeah.
He looked really good, and then he just got blasted with, I mean, just absolutely one of the most vicious knockouts you'll see. And he's had a lot of those, unfortunately, which makes it even worse. Like, I mean, we watched that Gaethje fight, and I don't think you can look at a guy and think he can be the same after that. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a fighter take as much damage as Ferguson took in that fight.
Yeah, it's not sustainable, especially at this point in his career after being in a lot of wars. And I brought up the 12-fight win streak. He was taking a lot of damage in those fights, and they were almost like he came from behind and won those fights where he would get beat up and then beat down, and then he would submit people off his back or do something wild like a triangle. So we'll see what happens with Tony Ferguson here in the future.
Yeah.
The next fight on the list.
Yo,
right
the
after
flying
that,
knee. What the heck?
Derek Lewis opens with a flying knee and then gets the finish in 33 seconds.
I was hyped for him. I was hyped that he got the dub.
Yeah, most knockouts in UFC history with 14.
Should we roll the clip quick post interview?
Oh yeah. And
Roll it.
left an interview for the ages.
I'm here with the winner, Derek Lewis. Derek, you have the most knockouts in the history of the sport. Now you're rated up to 14, and what a phenomenal one it was. Did you plan to open with that flying knee?
Hell no. I just said I'm gonna throw some if it lands, and I did.
It landed perfect. Did you plan to take your shorts off?
I didn't. My you know, your got a man was on.
Like
He not
always.
only went there and entertained, and then just really leveled Joe Rogan with an interview. I mean,
Wait, was this the guy that said he had to take a poop the one time?
Yep.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love how I knew him because of the interviews.
immediately the shorts came off, and I was like, I love this moment right
Yeah.
now. A flying knee. You know how it opens with a flying knee? Jorge Masvidal, John Jones, proven winners, competitors. Derek Lewis is now on that list.
That's crazy. Yeah,
He didn't get the finish, but still, he opened with one. And
I mean, that helped him get that quick finish.
yeah,
But-
I mean, he landed it nonetheless. He got he got up there, and I don't know. It's always weird too when you listen to Cormier talk about Derek Lewis, because Cormier could just destroy Derek Lewis, but it was like, but there's times when Derek Lewis will knock out the best of everyone.
No, and I'm glad he was 1-3 in his last 4 fights, and so to see him get that win, I was hyped that having him in the UFC it's fun to have him in the UFC.
And that was he finished his contract, so he's officially a free agent, obviously looking to get back with the UFC. But what a great way to say, keep me around.
Did you see what Kevin Holland said in the post-fight interview?
No.
He's mentioned that Lewis should fight Ngannou, and then the reporter's like, yeah, but that would mean he would have to switch to PFL and be out of the UFC. Do you think Dana White would like that? He's like, oh, never mind. I didn't say that.
Yeah. Maybe in like a boxing exhibition, but
Yeah.
didn't they fight one time already in the UFC?
Lewis and Ngannou?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
He fought Guyon.
Oh, true.
But yeah,
Yeah.
and then going off of that,
Co-main.
I mean, a questionable decision. I think it was the right decision.
Yeah.
But Perea, and I did rewatch these. I did not watch it live. Stat guy in here, and it looks like Ngannou and Lewis did fight at 220.
Derek Lewis had a wrecked back though. This is when his back was at its worst.
No,
I'm
Lewis
pretty
got the
sure.
dub too
Oh, he got the win. Oh my gosh.
with decision. The decision win.
Yeah, it was a decision. Yeah, Francis never put his foot down in that fight.
Dang, Chase,
think
you
that was
remember
coming-
that. Chase,
think that was
from
coming-
2018.
Yeah, because
This is before I started watching. Dang, that's why.
Well, this was like also when I was just getting into it, but yeah, was that coming off of Francis' title fight against Stipe the first time?
I don't know. This is definitely when Derek Lewis though was like top 5 guy.
Yeah, I think
It might
I
have
think
been.
Francis or something like that. But I think it was after the Stipe fight. He like wasn't the same for a little bit.
No, you might be right.
Yeah. But then
But-
he just learned that he could just punch people's heads clean off their bodies if he just put his mind to it.
No, but yeah, and moving on to the co-main, but we talked about Perea.
I mean, I agree too. I think it was Perea. He just really showed great striking, and like I was just saying about Ngannou not pulling the trigger, it felt like Blachowicz didn't pull the trigger at points
Well,
when he
he
could
did-
have just gone.
Yeah, it seemed like when he got him on the ground, he didn't really do anything with it. He just kind of tried to maintain control. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't like I thought he just would have tried to pound him out real quick. Like when he gonna
It
get like
seemed-
that down.
Seemed like mid round 2 he's getting gassed.
Yeah, his arms were shot. And
I
I
don't know if
think
it was-
because Perea just made it a stand-up fight too at certain points.
Yeah, and that's the
Like,
one
he's
thing.
just-
One thing about this card is it is altitude, so that could affect some guys differently.
Yeah.
And then lightweight fight. I mean, you knew this was going to be a banger no matter what. I had a weird feeling going in this fight that Gaethje might get the dub, but I like Poirier. But honestly, I like both these guys. So
Yeah, it was insane. Almost similar parallel knockout to the same location last year. Leon Edwards threw a left high kick and knocked out Kamaru Usman. Gaethje throws a right high kick and knocks out Poirier in the same place, location wise. Pretty eerie, but an amazing knockout. I just have 2 quick points about this. I'll start with Poirier first. And I agree, I like him a lot, and he's been a guy for so long now that just finishes out fights and gets the decision, or he's the one finishing people, that it was shocking the way he got finished in a fight because it's been so long. Like I can't remember the last time he's been knocked out clean
yeah,
like this. And so to see that was shocking. And my second point that goes in tow with this is that Gaethje, every time it seems like he gets a loss on his record, he gets stronger from that. Like he keeps growing in a way. Like he hits that plateau and it's like, okay, he could level off here or get better. And it seems like every time he does. And you could say Poirier, maybe not the clearest title challenger at this moment, but still nonetheless a very hard challenge to get in there with. He could finish him, so there's a threat in there. And he went in there and finished him and made a statement that obviously he deserves another title shot. So
yeah, and I think it's hard to argue with him that to get another title shot after this fight, pretty much the winner of Makhachev Oliveira. Poirier, like you said, he's been like right there for so long, and Gaethje the same thing. And really outside of, I know Oliveira's a problem, but outside of Oliveira, Khabib, and then Makhachev, those 2 guys have always been top 5 for a while.
yeah, they've been mainstays. And Poirier just had a crazy run too, where Max Holloway, he dismantled him in their fight, and just unbelievable stuff. And now it gets to the point where it's like, just where do you go from here?
Yeah, that fight was honestly crazy. And Ben, I thought you were a huge Poirier fan.
Oh yeah, I
Do
love
you-
Poirier. I got his Chase got me his glove up there. I have one of
Yeah.
his best rookie cards, his 2011 Topps Finest Gold out of 88. One of his best rookie cards. That's like my best UFC card. It's Poirier.
So is Gaethje
So I'm a big
better?
fan.
Is Gaethje better than him after this win? Or
It's tough. I mean, right
Yeah.
now in the standings, yes, but we'll see how their careers play out. Like overall, I think they're both, when all said and done, top 10 fighters of their division all time. Honestly,
Yeah. And it's the second time they fought. The series is 1-1 now. Poirier finished Gaethje the first time, and now Gaethje finished him. So if they do run it back, I mean, it really could be either one. I mean, I didn't have a real solid feel on it going into the fight. I kind of figured both guys had a good chance at winning, but Gaethje really just cemented himself.
yeah, and that's a fight that the way stylistically they match up, no one would be upset if they had a third one. In like 2
No,
fights from now, no one would be upset because you're always going to get just fireworks.
it was just so strange, like I was saying, to see Poirier get finished, because like he's literally just been a guy who is a decision person or is just putting on the work to people, not really going out. He was early in his career. He got knocked out by Conor McGregor, but two guys that really show you that a lot of hard work and grinding you can always be a perennial title challenger.
I think the biggest reason they're kind of viewed as very similar fighters because they both lost to like Khabib. They both could not take him down. They both lost to Charles Oliveira, could not take him down. For Dustin Poirier, like beating Max Holloway, like that's a legendary win that he has on his resume. Because Holloway's an all-time great too. So,
And the way he did it, I mean, it was a decision, I'm pretty sure, but he beat the brakes off of Max Holloway. I mean, it was and I was a really big Max Holloway fan in that fight. I still am. I'm not saying I wasn't, but I mean, that was like hurt my Max Holloway fandom a little bit to see him get, rung up like that.
yeah.
But that just shows you how good Poirier's been. I mean, even when he's shadowboxing during the warm-ups, I mean, he's so crisp and clean on his technique, and that's what's going to carry his career as long as it did, is having that good base.
they're both 34, by the way. That's crazy. I didn't realize I thought Gaethje was older.
Oh, and speaking of fights, real quick, talk about the Terrence Crawford Earl Spence boxing match that we've also bricked on bringing up last week,
Yeah.
but was a huge event nonetheless in the boxing world. Ben, I don't know if you had any reactions to it.
I didn't honestly watch the whole thing. I saw some highlights. I mean, I think Crawford is, at this point, he's just a generational talent. I think there's one of those things that you have to put him among these just potentially greatest of all time boxers. Yeah, I mean, he pieced them apart from what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame he's had so much time off in between fights, but he showed you that it doesn't matter. He's still a great boxer. And for Earl Spence, I mean, he obviously survived a horrific car crash where he flipped his Ferrari. You could obviously tell, it seemed weird watching it. It looked like he was boxing underwater in a way. Like his movements were just telegraphed and slower. And Crawford was just a snake. Like he would just react to everything that Spence was trying to set up and do, and knocked him out. And I think it was almost a mercy one where the ref could have maybe let it go a little bit longer, but I mean, it was just not going the right direction at all. Like you could maybe say Spence had a chance to land a shot, but I don't think anything he was going to be doing Crawford didn't already see a mile away. So just really puts his place in. I know a lot of people are saying he should retire, but it's obviously up to him. But after that performance, I don't know what the plan should be.
But
yeah, I mean, there's still a bunch of challengers and weigh-ins, but Crawford's the man to get, finally unified. So that's great for his career that he can have that achievement of not just being a 3 organizational holder. He gets to be the linear champ. So well deserved. Terrence Bud Crawford also can wrestle his ass off and probably could do a UFC fight if he really wanted to, which would be cool. Because I know people wanted him to fight Mighty Mouse when Mighty Mouse was still in the UFC. And that would have been a tremendous fight. I would still pay money to watch that fight.
Mighty Mouse is done dirty.
Mighty Mouse would probably finish him in some horrific way, but still, Terrence Crawford can wrestle. I think he was a wrestler growing up. So
yeah, and as we're wrapping up the show, I know that I keep slightly bringing it up every week, but real quick, I just want to touch on the Women's World Cup. It's a really cool soccer event, and the men's just had happened last year. Kylian Mbappe went off. The women's this year has been pretty solid. Haven't gotten to see much because it's in Australia, so all the games are either at like 1 a.m., 5 a.m., some weird time like that, and haven't gotten to catch any of the U.S. women's yet. But this weekend, the round of 16 starting group stages end this week. There's only a couple matches left, but U.S. women's team, and for anyone who doesn't know, they dominate this national soccer sport in general, but specifically the World Cup. They have four World Cup victories, and they squeaked out of their Group E, actually getting second. They had 2 ties. They beat Vietnam, but they tied the Netherlands, and they had a really bad tie against Portugal 0-0. Nonetheless, they get the second spot, but their Group 16 match Sunday morning 5 a.m. is against Sweden. And Sweden's never won anything. They don't have any, medals in the Olympics or any gold medals in the Olympics. They don't have any World Cup wins, but they've been like a top 5 team consistently for the last 8 to 10 years. And they actually faced the women's national team in the 2021 Olympics and beat them 3-0. So I really wanted to come up with a pick for this Sunday, but I just can't do it because the women's, they've put up 1 goal in the last 2 matches. They squeaked by to get out of Group E to make it to the knockout stage, but I want them to win, but I don't know. I just don't have a lot of faith. This Sweden team, they produce some good teams, and tough first matchup. It's not like women's soccer has grown an insane amount worldwide, and there's a lot of talent in a lot of countries, and the U.S. still are favorites, plus 190-minute time. I think they're like minus 120 or 130 to advance to the next round, but be careful. I think it's going to be low scoring affair. It could be a 1-0, 2-0 game, 2-1 game, but I don't want to touch anything. Might set my alarm to try to catch the second half, but I'll be rooting for him. And yeah, tough first round matchup for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I haven't been able to watch it really much either, but I have been following, and it's weird to not see them as this dominant team as they've been in the past. I know Carly Lloyd came out and said some stuff, just kind of criticizing the team, but I don't know. It is weird. You expect them to be dominant, but they're through the next round and anything can happen. So we'll see. All right. Well, as we're wrapping up the show, just one more quick stat for everyone. I thought it was kind of interesting. Ryan's going to love it because it's a Barry Bonds stat.
That means I'm probably going to hate it.
If you went 2 for 5 with a homer and a single every day from game 1 to game 162, you would finish the season with 162 homers, 324 hits, and you would still have a lower OPS than Bonds had in 2004.
Dang.
Oh my gosh.
That's ridiculous.
That's the walks helping, because OPS encounters on base percentage.
Yes.
So that he must have had a bajillion and a half walks that year. That's crazy, though. I don't care. I'm taking the 2. You know what? I'm taking the 2 for 5 season with the 1 homer and the 1 hit, because then I'll break Barry Bonds' record, and I will come out and tell everyone that I did it without taking performance enhancing drugs. And then I'll flip off Barry Bonds and his alcoholic dad, Bobby.
Ryan just throwing the shots at the AFR final team.
Sorry, no, they're both really good players.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think it's about time we wrap this up. We hope you guys enjoyed. This has been a fun one tonight. We had the interesting podcast and some cool things to talk about. And we hope you guys just have enjoyed this. Keep a lookout for a poll. We're going to kind of dive back into our all-time teams, maybe with a different sport. So keep a lookout for that. And we have not forgotten, we're going to do our MLB The Show Sims at some point here soon too. But we thank you guys for listening. Remember, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon. Look us on Instagram, Twitter. So we're on everywhere. We'll see you guys later.